here at the Lower Cape Fear Hospice Center. My guest to my immediate left, Haley Long. To my far left is Jason Clam. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
It's a great story that you have to tell, and I think our audience will really appreciate knowing more about hospice. Tell us, Jason, in the broadest sense, what is hospice?
Sure. Hospice is an organization that serves patients, serves their families who are dealing with very serious and advanced illness. We provide the comfort care, palliative care to them as they're dealing with the physical part of it. We provide counseling and resources and emotional support, not only for the patient, but for the family as well, and education to them of what to expect, but also to the community on a variety of end-of-life issues.
Good. You used the term end of life, and that's a key issue that I was about to allude to.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us more when you say end of life.
Well, we're talking with people who are, as I said, living with a very serious illness. For many of them, they are probably within the last 6 months of their life. Sometimes that's shorter, sometimes that's longer, but the diagnosis is there that they are looking for palliative care, they're looking for comfort at the end of their life.
Right. Haley, you work full-time here at the Bolivia facility.
Yes, sir.
Tell us more about the services.
The services that we offer in the county is not only just here at the care center. We do offer our care in the home. But when somebody's coming to our care center, it usually is for end-of-life, respite care, which is just a break for the caregiver, but then also for some symptom management. And that's just where things are getting a little out of control at home, and we just want to try to help stabilize that.
One of the things that you just mentioned is that hospice is not just here at this facility, but at the homes of those in need. Tell us some more about that.
Well, the main goal of hospice is meeting them where they are. And so if the wish for the patient is to remain at home, we want to do everything possible to make that happen. So it's kind of like a one-stop shop where we're bringing everything to them.
Do counselors and nurses go to the homes?
Yes, sir.
And deal
Social
with
workers, nurses, CNAs, volunteers, they're all going to the home to visit with the patient there.
I know you need volunteers.
We do.
We talked about that before we went on the air, especially veterans who may want to volunteer.
Yes, sir.
Tell our audience about that.
Well, for the volunteer program, you can get involved directly with a patient where you're going to visit with them, offering companionship. Maybe the caregiver needs to go to a doctor's appointment or they'd like to go get coffee with a friend. The volunteer can go and be that support system in case something happens.
So important. So important.
We also are looking, just to add to that, to honor the veterans that we have in our care. And so we want to make sure, even though they're nearing the end of their life, that they realize the importance of what they've done for us and for our country. And so we are using volunteer veterans to actually honor these folks one last time.
Absolutely. And it's a veteran-rich county. So we hope veterans will come out and assist.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When should hospice be called? I don't know if there's a single answer, but let's address
and
that.
that's a very tough question because it's unique to every individual, their disease process, their family dynamics, all those sorts of things. I would say if there was a main misconception on that, though, is that people think that hospice is only appropriate at the very end of life. I mentioned the number 6 months earlier. We can serve people with a diagnosis of 6 months or less. We do serve people sometimes longer than that, but really, if a person's goal is to be comfortable and to have a quality of life, whether that's 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever it is, hospice could be appropriate for them and they could be eligible for our services.
Sure. Haley, you're a nonprofit.
Correct.
Let's talk about one's ability to pay or inability to pay.
Well, as a nonprofit, we do not look at a patient's ability to pay to be able to offer the services. We do get reimbursed by Medicare, and we do have to follow the Medicare standards. But there are some patients in our county that may not qualify for that. And so they still need that service. It's not just for the elderly. It can be for patients of all ages.
Good point.
That are facing a life-limiting illness. And so for the people that fall in those gaps, we want to be able to serve them.
We're here at I'm going to call this a new facility, even though it's a few years old. It still looks brand new. Tell us about the Bolivia facility.
Well, the facility was opened in June of 2012, so we've been functioning since then. But a lot of people don't realize where we're located. They haven't seen our facility.
Right.
And so we highly encourage people to make a visit. It is a very homey place, and it's very comfortable. And we get a lot of compliments from our patients and family members that they feel very welcomed here. And we pride ourselves in that.
Tell us geographically where it's located.
Geographically, we're off of 17, off of Old Ocean Highway, located next to Little Sandpiper Daycare Center and the Canine Academy.
And for those who know where the college is, not far from
there.
Brunswick Community College. Okay, if a member of my family feels that they are in need of hospice services, how does one get things started?
There's a couple different ways you can do that. One is to have a conversation with your physician, to talk with your personal doctor.
Good.
And find out all the details of diagnosis and prognosis, and if it is towards the end and palliative comfort care is what you're thinking you would like, you can ask them to initiate the process with us. We also tell folks, though, that they can also call us directly. You can find out as much information as you want. There's no pressure. There's no nothing that you have to sign up for right away. You just need to get the information. We are more than happy to meet with you, to talk with you, and let you know whether hospice is right for you or not, and let you make that decision.
Jason, we use the term Lower Cape Fear Hospice. That's more than Brunswick County. Tell us about that.
Well, yes, we serve 6 counties here in North Carolina, as well as over the border in Horry County as well. So wherever you might be watching this from your home, is probably a county that we serve here in Southeast North Carolina.
Right. I want to deal with a few misunderstandings that I've learned recently. One is that you need not deal with your own doctor in hospice, but rather with a staff facility here. Is that correct?
Well, it depends again on the patient and family situation. A person does not have to give up their physician to come into hospice.
You said that much better than I could.
Right. They are still part of the plan of care and are involved with the care of the patient. If a person doesn't have a physician, or if they're not comfortable keeping them, that we do have physicians on staff who can step into that role.
Okay. Another question for either of you, that hospice is just for the elderly. Help us out.
I'll take that.
Sure.
It's for anyone with a life-limiting illness. And Jason mentioned earlier that it's usually that 6-month or less prognosis. So it can be an infant that the family just wants to bring the baby home. It can be a mother of 3 children. It can be someone who is 98 and has lived a wonderful life. All of those people qualify for
We do
hospice.
recognize, though, that the dynamics are different depending on the age, and that people's goals might be different at end of life,
Sure.
Depending on what stage of life that they are in. And we're very aware of that and can work with families through those things.
One article that I read alluded to the fact that a lot of people think that hospice is just for cancer patients. That's not true either, is it?
Absolutely not. We are actually to a point now where we're serving more patients who don't have cancer than we are patients who do. As a group, cancer still is our largest disease that we serve, but there are many other disease processes, lung and heart and kidney disease. Alzheimer's and dementia is a large one as well. So really the key, as Haley said, was if it has a life-limiting prognosis to it, what the name of the disease is doesn't matter.
You have a number of upcoming events, and I think it's important for our audience to know about those.
Well, I'll just mention a couple for you.
Sure.
One we're excited about. We're bringing in a speaker. Her name is Melanie Bunn, and she is an expert on Alzheimer's and dementia, and enabling and giving caregivers and family members strategies on how to care for people who are dealing with that particular disease. We're offering it here in Brunswick County on March 21st actually at Shiloh Presbyterian Church. We're partnering with them to offer that. And so if anyone's interested in information on attending that, it's free of charge and open to the community. We would be more than happy for you to attend. We also have a program that we call Begin the Conversation, which is about advanced care planning and making sure your wishes are documented and communicated. And we're going to offer free clinics here at the Hospice Care Center or the Brunswick Care Center here in Bolivia. And so if people want to come and get the documents or find out more about how they need to do that, they can come get some free information.
And just to broaden the discussion a little further, on any of these matters, if our viewers have questions, they can certainly call you up, dial you up.
We have always said that one of our main goals is to provide information and resources to the community, because the community has been so good to us through the years that we want to be sure that we're offering something back to them.
Right. This is a fantastic facility. I've been here before. It's just so impressive. Could you talk a little bit about the overwhelming community support that led to the construction of this and the growth of the program?
Absolutely. Well, the community is the reason we have this care center. They saw the need that Brunswick County needed a facility like this, and they made it happen through fundraisers and donations, and then even helping us out with our Meals of Love program. People have brought in food for the family members, and it's been overwhelming at the support that has come from this community. We do have some more opportunities that people can get involved, and we're very excited that we're launching more volunteer opportunities where people can help patients with basic lawn care. They can help them with maybe walking their pets.
Sure.
They can help them celebrate their life by finding out things that are important to them.
Right.
And then even more with our volunteer support with our veteran program and making sure that our patients are getting the best service that they possibly can get.
Wow. Hospice is just a great story, and we thank you for being here to tell the story. It's just,
we appreciate the opportunity.
It's a delicate issue for some, but one that we should and must and now have discussed. And we thank you both for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much. Hello, everyone. We are here in cool but sunny Southport. We're here at the John N. Smith Historical Cemetery. My guest is Judy Gordon. Judy, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Judy, we have a lot to talk about.
Yes.
It's a rich history here in this cemetery, and you're one of those few that knows so much about what goes on here in Southport, and especially here at the John N. Smith Cemetery. Now let's talk a little history.
Okay.
This cemetery goes back almost to the Civil War, am I right?
That's correct. That's correct. It was land that was actually belonged to someone else back in 1874, and John Smith was buried here. And later, trustees from a church bought this property and named it John Smith.
So John N. Smith was the first to be buried here.
That's correct, yeah.
But since then, Civil War veterans and other notable individuals have been buried here all the way up to the present moment.
That's correct. We're still using this.
Let's talk about some of those, some of the notable figures.
Okay.
Help us out.
Okay. Well, we have Abram Blunt, we have Abram Galloway. They were Civil War veterans.
Wow.
We have one of the first black Brunswick County teachers buried here. We have the first black magistrate Brunswick County buried here. And we have our gentle giant, Elias Go, buried here.
Now you're scooting along rather quickly, and I want to talk a little bit about some of those.
Okay.
Let's talk about Mr. Galloway, for example.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about Abram Galloway.
Well, there is much I can tell you about him without my paperwork in front of me.
That's all right.
We have researched him because we have researched a good many of the members here in the cemetery. Right now, our research, we're up to about 740 some people that we have researched. Abram Galloway, Abram Blunt, and we have on up out of the okay, stop that with a minute. The campaigns of the later campaigns from Civil War on up. Even we have a Vietnam veteran that's buried here on up to the Vietnam War.
I'll ask you about one that you do know. That was your great-grandfather?
Yes, my great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather. Mm-hmm. His name was?
His name was Frank Gordon.
And he was the first black educator in the county?
Yes.
What else do you know about him? Tell us something else about him.
Well, I understand from some of his pupils that he was a stern taskmaster. He really believed in education, and he didn't take he took it very seriously.
Sure.
And so one of the letters that I got from one of his pupils said that when he got ready to go to school, his mother told him that he was going to be taught by the smartest man in Brunswick County.
That's fantastic.
And he looked forward to that. And he says that he was a taskmaster.
I'll bet. Another name is Melissa Jackson.
Melissa Jackson. I've heard a lot of stories about her. We've also researched her, and there are others that can give you in-depth history about her.
My brief research indicates that she came from Bladen County and was successful in acquiring a large number of parcels of land in this area, hundreds and hundreds of acres.
That's my understanding of her history, and that she did establish a church in the area. She did own large amounts of land, and her descendants are still here. They're buried here. They're still living here. A lot of them out in the Jabberton area and just all around in the county.
Another name is Ephraim Swain.
Ephraim Swain, yes. He being the first black magistrate, I knew Ephraim very well. Very respectable man, very serious man about everything that he did. He took that job very seriously, as he did life in any other role that he took. And I considered him, I knew him. I knew him before he was a magistrate, and even after he retired, we were church members.
Now, was he in the 1950s and 60s? Am I close?
He would, you mean as far as?
As far as when he worked and when he lived?
Well, he retired from the Corps of Engineer, and then he was later appointed the magistrate, and then he retired here. I think he died, I'm not sure when he died. It was before 2000. I think it was around in the late 90s that he died.
I want to surprise you and go to the very current moment. I want you to tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, because you have such a commitment here and such an interest in this cemetery.
Well, Southport is my home.
Okay.
These are family, friends, and the older folks instilled a love and respect for what they accomplished. So to be able to preserve the memories that they gave us is my desire, my commitment to preserving. If I can preserve their memories in paper form, video, however, so that the present generation can look and see where they come from.
Right.
If I can show the community what we have in this cemetery, how we contributed to the place that we call Southport, our love, our safe haven. We contributed a lot here, and everyone coming in, those that don't know how we have what we have, that's what I want to do. And I want these younger people coming up to realize the rich history that they have.
You said that so well, thank you. Want to mention veterans, because veterans from the post-Civil War era all the way up to the current time are buried here. Certainly World War I, World War II,
Yes.
The Spanish-American War.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. We have those buried as well. And every year, back in the 50s, the cemetery committee would hold their memorial service here. They would, the bands, the local school, the chorus, they would have a speaker from the community at one of the churches. They would load the piano on the back of a truck and they would bring it out here.
Fantastic.
And we would have the Memorial Day service here. They would fix little sandwiches, pimento cheese or bologna or something, and it was a good time for the kids. We would come out with our families the weeks before. We would clean the cemeteries up. We would decorate them with the seashells, the conch shells.
Yeah, talk about that for just a second. I read about that also, how they'd be decorated with the conch shells.
Yes, the conch shells and the clam shells. We would come out as children. I remember we would come out and, as the grass is growing up winter, we would have to take them all off, pull up all that grass and rake it away, and then we would pack those shells back on there in preparation for the Memorial Day service.
Excellent.
Now, just in recent years, we have reinstituted that commemoration. we have the Memorial Day Parade, which hopefully is growing every year, and the American Legion always hold the ceremony.
Here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Judy, we're here in this wonderful, beautiful, and serene area with the live oaks behind us, hundreds of years old. Talk about what it means to you to be here occasionally and to be a part of this.
Being here in this peaceful setting, each time that we come out and we see the beauty of this setting, we honor them. We honor them in our mind and our spirit. It's just a peaceful place to come and do honor. And establishing this with pathways and fences and markers and whatever that we have as that we endeavor to do with the committee is all honor.
We're bringing together the past, the current,
yes,
as we are here,
yes,
and hopefully for hundreds of years to come, the future.
Exactly, and that is our motto: from the past to the present to the future.
Great,
yes.
Great. Judy, thank you for being with us. It's
you.
a great story that you have,
and
you're terrific.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm here with Gordon Walker. Gordon, thanks for being with us.
Happy to be with you.
I enjoyed speaking with Judy, and I thought we'd speak for a while about current and future plans for the cemetery here. I know you want to improve and make some expansion efforts here at the cemetery. Tell us about it.
Right. Well, first and foremost, we want the community to recognize the value of this cemetery. And the one way you do that is by making certain it looks good.
Right.
And we want it to have a very strong physical presence in the community so the community as a whole recognizes the contributions that the people in turn here have made to our community. And in a couple ways we're going to approach that. I mean,
sure.
One is a major expense is we need to fence in the 3.5 acre site.
It's a large parcel of land, is it not?
It clearly is. I mean, somebody mentioned to me they were really surprised to hear it was as much as 3.5 acres, but then I remind them it was the only place black people could be buried, so consequently this amount of space was necessary.
Right.
And so I think once we're able to fence it in, people will be able to recognize the size of the cemetery, plus its appearance will obviously be a lot better.
It gives definition.
Yeah, clearly, and the neighbors, sometimes neighbors are encroaching with where they put up their fencing.
Sure.
And so we recognize that one or two of them may be on cemetery property. And
I'm sorry, you did get a survey though, however, did you not?
You're right, Jim. We just completed a survey. Owen Gidlow, a local surveyor, gave his time to do a survey.
Great.
And now he's in the process of what's called a mapping exercise, which is via GPS. He's able to identify on a map all the existing headstones. He's going to have to do some by the old-fashioned pencil and paper for those that are underneath trees. But then what we do with that information is once we've got it on paper, then we're going to be doing a ground penetrating radar study, because the expectation now is that there's upwards to 200 people buried here that there's no markers for.
That's where I was going. So our viewers will understand there are numerous others that are buried here for which we're not even aware at this point.
Very good point. I mean, you can look around, you can see that there's bare spaces where you don't see existing headstones. People who know this community recognize the fact that there have been a lot of people buried here over the years where either they had to use wooden markers because they didn't have enough money to put up any marble.
But technology
or
can assist
permanent.
us in locating those.
Certainly. You have a radar penetration machine. It identifies where people are buried. So one of our expenses is we want to put up some permanent markers for those up to 200 people.
Sure.
We call them our unknown intern
Okay.
people here, and that will be the next activity that we do after the mapping is completed. So we're in the midst of a capital campaign.
Let's talk about the capital campaign.
Glad to do it. Thank you for the opportunity. We have a goal of $75,000. As I noted, the large expenses for the fencing, we'd like to put up a nice 4-foot tall black aluminum fence. But also we need to purchase markers. We also want to put up some tabletop historical description markers, and what these are, and they're throughout Southport here, is you go to a historical space and you see a little blocked in area, laminated, exactly.
Sure.
And it gives people kind of a quick understanding of why it's an historical site. So that has an expense as well. We are getting some donated time from a local landscape engineer because we recognize there's landscaping that needs to be done here. And plus we need money to do ongoing maintenance. We want to make certain that once we get this place looking good, it stays good.
So you're actively engaged in the campaign as we speak and going forward.
Yes, we've sent out a letter to individuals, got a fairly good response that way, but we recognize larger gifts are available from corporations that have a local presence here, as well as a couple foundations that are expressing some interest in our cause.
And we'll have information on our sub-screen providing contact information as
wonderful,
well.
wonderful, yes. So anybody who wants to help, pay attention to that information on the tagline, and we'd be glad to do a tour or talk more about why we think this is important, not just to Southport, but I think to the county as a whole. It's recognizing that the people that are buried here and in other black cemeteries have made a significant contribution to our area and our quality of life. And projects like this help us remember them and thank them and give them the respect they deserve.
Well, it's an area rich in history, and this is a rich part of that history.
Absolutely.
We're moving around a little bit, Gordon, but on our right is John N. Smith, his burial site, who was the first person buried here. And I know we'll get a few camera shots.
To our knowledge, he's the first person who was buried here back in 1876, and he was fortunate, I guess, to have the cemetery named after him.
But we don't know a lot about him, do we?
We do not. We've been trying to learn as much as we can, but sadly we've hit a roadblock on this. I guess we can pretty well know that he was probably a slave, considering his age and when he died. And since most black people were slaves prior to the Civil War and emancipation. But it's great that, as you can see, the marker next to him, which is a family member, we need to do repairs here.
This is Smith also, though, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That's
Right.
a Smith as well.
It does need repair. Shall we move on down this way?
Certainly.
All right. We're moving towards some of the older plots, I believe. Tell us about the older section here.
Well,
Gordon?
coming up on our right is where we recognize at least one, and we think two, African Americans who served in the Civil War, obviously with the Union Army, but they're buried here. And as you can note as well, one of our goals is to clean the existing headstones and certainly make repairs.
The years have taken a toll.
They certainly have taken a toll. And you know, the hope is that by having an entrance here and an entrance on the other side, that we'll be able to have traffic flowing in a way that won't damage any of the existing stones. I think in part some of these may have been hit by cars actually.
Right. Gordon, I've enjoyed being with you. It's a great story that you have, and we know our viewing audience will really enjoy it.
Yeah, well, we thank you for your interest in this.
Thank you, Gordon.
Great, thank you.